Welcome, I'm Laura Muirhead, and this is the Queen Code Meet the Archetypes masterclass. Hello, and welcome to the Queen Code Meet the Archetypes masterclass. I'm Laura Muirhead from lauramuirhead.com. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am so excited to share the archetypes with you and what they mean for the queendom. So I know you've heard me talk about the Queen Code, and the Queen Code is about setting personal policies, creating boundaries in your life, and the archetypes are really important to that process. They are the foundation of the Queen Code. But first, let's talk a little bit about the queendom. So it's your realm. You're the queen, hopefully, of your queendom. You're the ruler. And the best rulers have the best support. So we want you to be the best ruler of your realm. And let's find out first why it's so important to have the support of the archetypes. Each role in the queendom supports the other roles. So what we've got 6 archetypes. So, and they're all actually already within you, and it just depends on who you identify, where you identify, where are the stories that you're telling yourself. Are they are they helping you to create the life that you love, or are they holding you back from the life that you love, right? So first of all, the first archetype I want to talk about is the inner sorceress. So the inner sorceress is your intuition, your higher self, your inner coach, the wisdom of your soul, whatever you want to call that. And it's great always to have outer sorceresses, like a mentor or a coach or a confidant, but someone to check in with like that, to be your cheerleader and guide you and hold you accountable. But what's even more important is your inner sorceress. So when you're listening to your own gut feeling, those knowing nudges, your inner voice when you hear it, when you tune in more and more to that, and these parts of yourself tend to, mirror back what you're wanting in life, you're going to gain stronger self-trust. So this is the importance of the inner sorceress. She's always there. And the trick for the inner sorceress is to make sure that she's in alignment with you. So here's some ways that you can connect to the inner sorceress. You can practice daily gratitude. You can use positive affirmations, meditation, journaling, spend time out in nature, maybe, at the beach, around water, if that is what resonates with you. So when the inner sorceress is out of alignment, you might feel disconnected, you might feel a bit lost, and you might even feel like, there's nothing bigger than me out there. But when you are in alignment, and when you use these different ways to connect, to the inner sorceress, then you feel guided. You feel like there's something bigger out there that cares about you, and then you also feel, you feel connected. So it's really important to find that connection, to listen to your inner voice, and to connect with your higher self. So that was the first archetype I wanted to talk about. And that is the one that we might be surprised about. We might not realize is there for us to connect with. So the other archetypes, of course, the queen, is the big, the most, it's who you are. The queen is who you are, and where you really want to find your power. But the other parts of the of the realm of the queendom help you to fulfill your role as the queen. Because if you think about a queendom, there's all these different um, really archetypes. There's different roles that to make a queendom run right. There's the peasants or the farmers. There's the knights. There's the servants in the castle. There's the princess, and then again, of course, there's the queen. So this is why, like when you think of no queen runs her queendom just by herself. There's all these other roles that come into play, right? So we're going to look at those roles, and we're going to find out, what stories you might be telling, what where you might find that these stories are again holding you back, or are they helping you to move forward. So I want to share my screen with you guys really quickly to show you just to show you this PDF. So when the queen has given some of her keys away to the various people who play the roles in the queendom, it can really affect her. And when her keys are lost, so let's start with the queen, right? So when the queen is not in alignment, she might find herself belittling others, being judgmental. She's got unhappy people in her queendom because of the way she rules. She might want to just go to war or pick fights, with other people. And the people in her queendom might be starving because she's literally not in alignment with herself, right? So, she might be just out there like angry and sending everybody off, like I said, off to war, cut off their heads. So this isn't a happy queen, right? So we want to find how you can be better aligned as the queen and rule your queendom in a better way. So when you go through and reclaim the keys that you might have given away to these other people, to these other roles, to these other stories, as the queen reclaims these keys back, we're going to find that she now starts to rule more fairly. She's has more grace in what she does. She uses discernment. There's abundance in her land and in her castle and in her life, and she's got happy people living there. So the princess is very close, clearly, to being the queen. She's the next in line, but because of that, because she's not the queen yet, she's the princess, she might feel like an imposter. She might feel like she's going to be found out and isn't really, who she claims to be. And some of us feel that. We feel like we have imposter syndrome, like, who am I to be in this role, right? So the princess, when she's out of alignment, when her keys are lost, she thinks she has power, but she really doesn't have the ultimate power because the queen does. She might throw tantrums and be rude, and she also could use, be really mean and use words as weapons. So, she might be the one that, throwing a fit on the floor and, just saying, this isn't right. This isn't right for me. And she doesn't really know where she stands all the time when she's out of alignment. So the princess, when she is in alignment, is joyful. She's willing to embrace growth, willing to grow and learn to be a good queen, to step up into her next role, to understand that this is her place for now, and she will have her time, but it's her time to actually be growing and learning. And what she really needs to learn is self-confidence, right? So when she has more self-confidence, then then she will be a happy princess. So the next one we want to look at is the servant. The servant is the people pleaser in us. We'll do whatever it takes to please others and puts themselves last and everyone else first. And this is when they're out of alignment, right? But the servant can be happy in that role. And when the servant finds their own self-worth and speaks up for themselves, then they're in more joyful service. So, there is a difference between these, and I'm going to go a little bit more into each of these a little more in a couple minutes. But then the knight. So the knight, when his keys are lost, when he's out of alignment, he can be really resentful and defensive, doesn't have any compassion for others, wants to save everyone, and isn't good at taking orders, and is also really disempowered by telling these stories. These are the stories that he tells, right? So when he's back in alignment, when he's got his keys, he has self-trust, he has strong boundaries, and he then actually can have compassion for others. And then the last one we were going to talk about is the peasant. So the peasant tells the poor me story. This is just my reality. It feels stuck in the role that they're in, doesn't feel like they have choices to change things in their lives. And again, this is just a story. We know that these are stories that we tell, and we can change these stories. And when we do, when the peasant learns self-love and uses gratitude, and then he's more in alignment. He or she is more in alignment with themselves and has appreciation for their lives and can be happy. Again, can be happy in that role that they're in. So those are quickly the three archetypes. But let's go farther in and dig in a little bit further with each one of them. So as we said, everyone has the stories that they tell, right? And I'm going to start with the peasant. We're going to start there and build up to the queen and see where these are the foundation for the queen and her queendom. So again, the peasant feels like whatever they do, they just can't get ahead. They're working, but they are just telling this, poor me, this is just my reality story. They think they have no choice. And this is because they're lacking self-love. In the story of the peasant, everything is so hard. Their work is never done. It seems like no matter how hard they work or how hard they try, they just can't seem to get ahead. But they aren't willing to accept help, even if it was offered to them. So they're like, no, I've got to do it all myself, right? So this again is a story that, maybe you can see this in yourself. But there's ways to change this, and we can start changing it by being willing to receive from others. When someone says, hey, can I help you out? Like if you feel like whatever it is, maybe you're looking for, a babysitter, or you need help with carrying the groceries in from the car. You're like trying to juggle all the bags, right? But there's, if somebody else is home, you could just, be willing to accept their help. And sometimes this often, maybe it's not even asking, but maybe someone has offered help and you're just like, no, I'm good. Sometimes we need to recognize and accept the help that someone else is offering us. And that's super important to be willing to receive. Also, it's important to accept your current situation, but also know that everything can change. Like things are changeable and we have the power to change them, even though sometimes we might be saying that we don't think we have that power. We actually do. We have a choice. And, there's that quote that in the song, even if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. So we always have a choice. It's just a matter of making that choice and hopefully choosing something that's going to be better for ourselves. So the other thing I want to talk about, with each archetype, they have a gift. And when you start to be more in alignment, you'll find the gift of that archetype. And for the peasant, the gift of the peasant is gratitude. And I can say for sure that that when we start to use gratitude, it literally is a game changer. And sometimes you might be sitting there saying, like, who can understand, goes along with this? Like, let me know in the comments if this is what you feel like. Like sometimes you're like, well, what am I going to be grateful for? Yeah. Yeah, I see you guys saying this. So I like to say, even at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day, or both if you can, just come up with 3 things. If you can just come up with 3 things that you're grateful for, then it can be it's a really big change in your life. Even 3 things to say, and they don't have to be big things. They can be that you're grateful for the weather, or you're, grateful for your partner or your kids, or whatever it is, for the breakfast that you had or the lunch that you had. So these things, if you can just find 3 things every day to be grateful for, it's really going to change your vibration and change things in your life. So again, for the peasant, I'm just going to recap the peasant. When the peasant is out of alignment, then they feel stuck in one place, not able to grow, has to do everything themselves, and change is absolutely impossible. But when you start to be more in alignment, then the peasant has self-love, gratitude, and appreciation. So, and let me know if you have any questions, or if you're understanding this. So, okay, good. So the night is interesting because there's actually 3 versions of the night. There's the knight in shining armor, there's the crusading knight, and then there's the knight who stands guard, guarding the castle, right? So these 3 are a little bit different. Each one is a little bit different. The knight in shining armor is out to save everyone in the realm. Like, I can save you. They're going to come to the rescue in every situation. So, and again, even if it's to their own detriment, they're going to save other people. Like, I can help you. I can help you. I can save you. The knight who's guarding the castle is really defensive. They are looking out for any threats that might come along. They sleep with one eye open, and they're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. So like, what else can go wrong? What else can happen? If you find yourself telling that story where you're like, like you hear people like, oh my gosh, I've had such a day. What else can go wrong? Well, what else are you inviting in when you say that, right? So this is the knight that's standing guard against the castle. But the thing about this knight is they don't trust themselves, and possibly even themselves. So let's talk about the crusading knight for a minute. The crusading knight is what they like to do is force their ideas and their will on everyone else. They act first and ask permission later, and they always know what's best. So maybe you have that person in your life. Maybe you have a friend that's like that, who is like, well, I did this, and if I did it, and I don't mean in a positive way. I mean, well, it's just like the really forceful, like they're not necessarily seeing you for you. They're just saying, well, I do this and it's good for me, so it has to be good for you. They're not taking you into consideration. I've heard some people talk about this as far as like where people might have bought something on sale. Oh, I was over at Target and I found this and it's on sale and you should go get it. You should go get it too. But maybe it's not something that you actually use or need, but they won't listen to you. They're just going to be like, just like, no, go get it. So this is what we talk about, that they just want you to do what they want you to do, whether it's right for you or not. So that's the crusading knight. And when you think about knights, they may seem strong, but the truth is that they are really disempowered. It's their false security of the armor that they wear that gives them the illusion of strength. So this is how knights can change their story. They can start to practice self-trust, which you just have to start honoring yourself, and little by little, and this is another thing where if you say something like, let's say you say, well, I am going to, I'm just going to close up my computer for the day at 3:00 and I'm going to take a walk. But then you find yourself at 3:00 still working and just one more thing. And you don't take yourself out for that walk, and you don't honor what you told yourself you were going to do. So you're not building trust for yourself. You've got to start doing what you say you're going to do to honor yourself in order to start building self-trust, right? You can also start to place some boundaries, put some boundaries in place in your life. This is how a knight can start to change their story, and then to start to use compassion and understanding with other people. So the gift of the knight, like we talked about, each archetype has a gift. So the gifts of the knight are boundaries and standards. So when they start to be in alignment, this is what gift they have to offer. So when the knight, just to sum up this, when the knights, any one of them, are out of alignment, they can be defensive, resentful, disempowered. They are out looking, like I said, looking for threats or the next shoe to drop, the next thing that's going to go wrong. What's going to go wrong next? What else could go wrong? And they have lack of trust. So those are the things that you might recognize when if you're identifying with the knight in you and the knight is out of alignment. And again, let me know, you guys, if this is making sense to you. Okay, yeah, good. So when the knights are in alignment, then they start to have self-trust and start to have boundaries, which I call personal policies. They start to have these things in place, and then they can use compassion when they're dealing with other people, right? So the next archetype I want to talk about is the servant. So now we're in the castle. We're getting closer to the queen, right? Because the servant serves in the castle, but is always in service. Again, even to their own detriment. They are always serving others. They're always trying to make others happy, but it's never, ever, ever enough. And their service doesn't make them happy either. So I want to talk a little bit about service, because a lot of times we think that any service, like if you're serving, that it's good service. And this also kind of goes along for me with giving for charities. And in the Queen Code program, we look at different areas of your life, and money and finance is one of them. But I'm going to touch on this a little bit here, where I think a lot of times people think that no matter what, if they're serving, if they're offering their time or their money, then that's a good thing. But it's not always a good thing. If you're trying to serve, but you are sitting there saying, I don't really, maybe you don't feel like you don't really have money to give, or the amount that you'd like to give, it's always okay to not give if you don't have it, because if you are giving from a place that's out of alignment like that, where you're feeling like, I have to give, but I don't have it to give. If you're not giving from a joyful place, then it's not serving you or whoever you're giving to. And this is true with your time as well. If you're offering your time and just, offering to help with every program that's out there, with everything that you find, and trying to be of service, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm giving and giving and giving, but I don't have time for myself or my family. And I wish I wouldn't have signed up for that anyway, because I don't have the time to do it. This is not being in service in the right way, because you have to be in a happy place, in the right place for you to give, or it's not gonna help you or the other people that you're helping. So this, like I said, this can seem like a good thing for the servant to always be in service, but it isn't always that way. It just isn't. And what the servants are looking for by telling these stories is they're really looking for approval from others. They might really feel unappreciated, appreciated, because they are always in service and feeling like, here I am all the time, and who's acknowledging me and who's thanking me. And actually, I heard this story. Someone else told this story about someone that they knew who was helping, I think it was at a church, to make the dinners to offer to people. And at first they really loved it. They were really happy to be there and serving, and other people were also there with them doing it. But the more and more they did it, the more and more they realized that the other people were letting them do it. And they didn't have as many people doing it because they were like, oh, she'll do it anyway. So as the other people fell off, she started to really feel taken advantage of. And then she didn't love doing it anymore. So I hope you can see from that story the difference in good service, and service that's in alignment, and service that's not in alignment. Because when you're starting to feel like taken advantage of or appreciated in your service, then that's not good, because you might even start to then feel like a victim, or start to feel burnout. And that's not where we want to be, right? So the truth of it is that if you're always trying to be in service to others, it's exhausting. But the good news is the servant can be happy when serving, again, from the right place, like we just talked about. And it is an important role for the queendom, and to keep the queendom running, running really well. So here's how the servant can start to change things in their life. They can start to see their own worth. They can start to speak up for themselves, and again, start to put some, personal policies in place, and say, hey, you know what, I'm, like in that story, I'm the only one who's doing this now. Or, speak up and say, listen, I can give you 15 minutes or a half hour of my time this week, but that's all I can give this week. Or maybe it's an hour, whatever, like set some boundaries around that. And then the other thing that the servant can start to do is to give themselves permission to put themselves first. So a lot of us, I think that it's not okay to put ourselves first. And it really is the most important thing. to do that, because again, if you are not putting yourself first, if you are not what I call making the radical choice of choosing yourself first, you aren't going to be able to help anyone when you're exhausted. And if you think about the idea of a cup and filling up a cup, if your cup is empty, you clearly can't give to anyone. You can't offer anyone else, anything if your cup is empty. And the other analogy I want to use is if what they say when you are on an airplane, put your mask on first in the event of emergency, and then only then can you help others. So it's really important that we do that. Now, when the gift of the servant is purpose and being in service, because a lot of us really do feel good when we have a sense of purpose, and when we are being in service in the right way. Like, we do feel good about that, right? So just to recap on the servant, when the servant is out of alignment, they use excuses. That's the other thing. They use excuses. They put themselves last. They can never do enough. Like, it's always something else, right? There's more that people want. They never have enough time, not for themselves or really for anyone else. And they're trying to make everyone happy, and it's just not going to happen. And again, you can't make everyone else happy until you make yourself happy first. So these are the things when the servant is out of alignment. But the good news again is when they are in alignment, they take pride in their service. It's joyful service. They start to speak up for themselves, and they do have that really nice sense of purpose that we all want to have, the good sense of purpose. So that's the servant. The princess. So here we are on to the princess. So again, like I mentioned before, the princess is really close to the queens. She's really close to ruling as the queen. She's the next one in line, but she's not quite there yet. But because of this, she thinks she has power, but she really doesn't. And she tries to act on that. But she also is afraid to be discovered as an imposter. She thinks she has good boundaries in place, but she doesn't. And her energy is always changing, really volatile. 1 minute she's nice as pie, the next minute she's throwing a tantrum, she's having a fit, she's not nice. With the princess, you just don't ever know where you stand, because she doesn't know where she stands. 1 minute everything is really great, the next minute, like I said, if something doesn't go her way, she's like an angry child and throwing a fit. So the thing too is, with the princess, she is, hoping for the best, but plans for the worst, because when she hopes for the best and it goes right, then everything's good, right? Like, oh yeah, see, I was right. But if something goes bad, then she can also say, oh, I told you so. I told you that wasn't going to work out. So this is where it's just like this whole, like, just roller coaster ride with the princess, right? And for her, it's actually a defense mechanism against pain. And when she's feeling this way, when she's out of alignment, she can be really rude and use words as a weapon also. And so that can be really hurtful. But what can we do for the princess to help change that story? So for the princess, what she's lacking is self-confidence, right? So she can start to learn her worth, which will help her be more confident. embrace joy, embrace the joy in life, be more open-minded, and again, willing to learn, because she's going to need to learn a lot of things to step up and be a queen that rules in alignment with herself, and to have a good queen code. So the gift of the princess is evolution and growth. When you can really start to be in alignment, then you will find that you have really great growth and evolution, in that, the story will change and things will be better in your life that way. So to wrap up the princess, when the princess is out of alignment, it's always the blaming. It's always someone else's fault. It's never her fault. How can it be? She's afraid to be found out. Again, the imposter syndrome. She's detached. She can feel like the imposter, like I said, and that, again, be afraid to be found out. Life isn't fair for the princess, and she feels like she deserves more. But it's always, again, in this place of, I deserve it. I'm the princess, not from a genuine place of deserving more. So when the princess starts to move into alignment, then she becomes more joyful, more self-confident. And again, she will start to open up to learn to be a good queen, and to put these better policies in place, and and really be the right hand of the queen in a good way. So let me know if you guys have any questions. I'm going to take a quick drink of water. Okay. So now we're going to talk about the queen. So the queen, when the queen isn't strong, she's definitely ruling from a place of lack, right? So she can be belittling or judgmental. Things aren't growing well in her realm, and her subjects are not only not happy, but they could potentially even be starving. You can just imagine, like, a queen that's not ruling fairly, how the people in her queendom would feel. Again, she might be looking for fights or war, and she could be surrounded by devastation, chaos, just everything's a mess all around her, and she's scrambling to try to put these things back in place, but she doesn't really even know how to pull it all together, right? So yeah, the queen, when she doesn't have her keys, when she's out of alignment, this can be a complete nightmare. She can be an absolute nightmare for everyone around her. She is, and this is part of it, like, she has the power and she is so powerful, but she's using it in the wrong way. And that's where, you can see then where she would be out of alignment. Her purpose is, she's misplaced her purpose. She's not only fighting outward wars, but she's fighting a war within herself as well. And this is because she has weak boundaries or weak personal policies, like we talked about. The queen out of alignment is feeling like for anything to be done right, she has to do it herself. But here's the thing too, she wants to demand the respect of everyone, but she can't earn it. She can't earn the respect of anyone when you act that way. And she really honestly doesn't have even the respect of herself in this situation. So what can the queen do to start to feel more aligned and to feel inner power in a good way, and to pull these, to reclaim the keys from the keys to her queendom? And this is the thing, when we think about personal policies and boundaries, we think that they're going to be more confining, but the truth is that once you, as the queen, once you reclaim the keys to your queendom, it actually creates more freedom. Once you have personal policies in place, and a strong queen code, you have more freedom in your life because others start to respect those policies. They know what your policies are. And, like, this is one of the examples that I like to use a lot with this is, I tend to go to bed what others consider fairly early. And I won't, if you text me back at 11 o'clock at night, maybe even before that, I'm not gonna respond. My phone's probably on silent at that point. And the same thing early in the morning. I just have some rules that I think, and they're probably really old school, about what times people can contact you or what times it's okay to respond to people. Now, unless you are, someone really close to me, and if I see that you've reached out to me, I will respond for sure. But in general, I don't respond at those times. But and the thing is that people in my life know that about me. So because of that, they might send me a text that says, "Hey, are you still up? If you are, can you talk?" So this is where, like, you start to stand in your own power with the personal policies that you put in place, and people start to respect those as well, and know and honor them. And so it doesn't become a big thing. They just are like, nope, don't even bother trying to get a hold of Laura at midnight. You're not going to get her. She's not going to respond. So it's just, once you start putting these things in place, it's really freeing for you, because you also don't have to think about it. You don't have to think about, what are you going to do this or you're not going to do that? Again, like, let's go back to the servant. And if you put some policies in place about what time you're willing to give to whatever it is that you're offering your time to. And if you say, well, I'm willing to give an hour a week to this project, or to this, this club or whatever, or, donate my time in this way. Once you know that, then you're like, no, I gave my hour or two, it doesn't have to be an hour. It can be whatever you want it to be. But once you set those parameters, those personal policies, then, it helps you as well, because you're not overstepping. What is it that people say? Strong fences make good neighbors. Like, then people aren't coming over your fence and trying to, take advantage of you. And you're not taking advantage of yourself, if that makes sense. So for the queen, the gift of the queen is her power when it's in alignment. And for the queen, I've got two things I want to say about this. So the queen, let's just go over this first. The queen, when she's out of alignment, again, she can be really judgmental and belittling. Her whole queendom can be in chaos. Everyone in the realm is unhappy. Everyone around you, including yourself, you might be unhappy. And once the queen starts to change her story, and this is, I'm just trying to decide which way I want to tell you this first, but in order for her to start to be in alignment, and set good personal policies, she can use the gifts from each of the archetypes, right? And like we talked about, the gift of the peasant is self-worth. The gift of the knight is self-trust. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The gift of the peasant is self-love. The gift of the knight is self-trust. The gift of the servant is self-worth. And the gift of the princess is self-confidence, right? So once the queen starts to take these gifts and use them, once we stop telling these stories that are out of alignment with each of the archetypes, and they start to be in alignment, and the queen can, the queen can start to take these gifts back, then you will start to be in more alignment with yourself, and you will start to feel more peaceful in your life. You will be happier. You'll see more abundance coming in. You will be a fair ruler. The queen in alignment rules with grace and is controlled, but in a good way. Like, she knows where she stands in her power. She's controlled, but not suppressing herself or her power. She's, it's controlled in a good way. So let me know if you have any questions. We're just gonna, start to wrap up. So everybody's good? Okay. So I do want to talk just here a little bit about creating your own queen code. And my program, the Queen Code program, is a 6-week program. I am opening up a intimate group program of the Queen Code starting in October, starting the beginning of October for 6 weeks. So with the Queen Code, I just want to show you. So each week there's a workbook to go through. And we'll go more in, we'll definitely in the Queen Code, we talk about the archetypes again, but each week, there is a workbook. Everything's online, so you can download the workbooks for yourself, and we go through, and or you don't, you don't have to download them if you don't want to. You can just use the materials that are online, but you can download them and go through them. We go through the framework, my framework of question, investigate, heal, and grow each week. And each week there's a different area of your life that we are going to look at. Your self-care, your finances, your relationships, media, including social media and the news, where your time is spent, and the outside realm. So these are areas that we look at with the question, investigate, heal, and grow framework. It's a 6-week program. I am offering, only opening it up right now to 4 spaces, so it's really limited. There's a Facebook group so we can support each other and ask questions. I'm there to, available by email, so you can reach out to me either in, the Facebook group or by email to, and we have weekly calls for 6 weeks. So we'll all meet once a week and see where we're each at. And so if that's something that you are interested in, if you want to come and join me and create your own Queen Code and your own personal policies, then let me know. Just reach out to me and I will, I'll get you all the information. And I hope that you all have enjoyed meeting the archetypes today. And thanks so much for joining me. We will see you soon on the Queen Code. For more information, visit lauramuirhead.com.